Hey guys, Frozen Duels here, and today I will be doing a deck profile for the still in beta Darklord archetype. That's right, they got a ton of new support recently, and a lot of it isn't half bad. So today I'm going to be doing a quick deck profile on it. You can play these cards on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro, and if you guys want to see some duels of this, make sure to let me know down in the description below. So without further ado, let's get right on to the deck profile. So, I'm going to first just go over all the cards in the deck, and then I will explain why I put them there, what their effects are, etc. So we have 1 Darklord Lucifer, 3 Darklord Ixtab, 2 Darklord Tezcatlipoca, 3 Darklord Asmodeus, 3 Darklord Superbia, 1 Darklord Zerato, 2 Archlord Krystia, 1 the Dark Creator, 3 Hacetrice, 3 Eidos, the Underworld Squire, 3 Edia, the Heavenly Squire, 3 Casting Out to the Dark Lords, 2 Trade-ins, 1 Soul Charge, 3 Valhalla Hall of the Fallen, 1 Dark Lords Falling from Grace, 2 Oasis of Dragon Souls, and 3 Call the Haunted. Onto the extra deck, we have 1 Superior Dora, 1 Gustav Max, 1 Dark Matter Dragon, 1 Cypher Blade Dragon, 1 Phantom Fortress Enter Blathnir, 2 Full Armor Photon Dragon, 1 Galaxy Eyes Prime Photon Dragon, 1 Galaxy Eyes Cypher Dragon, 2 Hope Harbinger Dragon Titanic Galaxy, that's a mouthful, they didn't really need to shorten that, 2 Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon, 1 Felgrand, and lastly, we have 1 number 23 Lancelot Ghost Knight of the Underworld. I'll talk about the side deck later. So, let's start out with this deck. What does it do? Well, this deck plays pretty well by just getting out huge beat sticks like Asmodeus, and even has its own version of a boss monster, Darklord Lucifer. It doesn't play out the extra deck at all, and in fact, it's actually kind of hard to go into the extra deck, so it doesn't really matter what you put here, as long as you got things like Felgrand and Titanic Galaxy. Those are the only ones that really matter here. So let's go on to the explanation. We have 1 Darklord Lucifer. This is the boss monster of the deck. Its effect is when it's tribute summoned, you can special summon Darklord or Fallen One monsters from your hand or deck up to the number of effect monsters your opponent controls. Its second effect is it can't be targeted by your opponent's card effects while you control another Darklord monster. And lastly, you can send cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard equal to the number of Darklord monsters on the field, and if you do, gain 500 life points for each one. So, first effect is really nice. It lets you swarm the field with things like the 2 new ones. You can also get out Zerato and Superbia, so that's all really nice. You can't get out Asmodeus, which kind of sucks. That's good, except this deck goes into Archlord Krystia really easily, so this card clogs pretty easily, so I find it to be pretty nice at 1. You can bump it up if you want. Next up, we have Darklord Ixtab and Darklord, I'm not going to try to pronounce that. They both have the same second effect, is that you can pay 1,000 life points, target 1 Darklord spell or trap in the graveyard, and the effect becomes that target's effect. So this card basically lets you reuse your 2 spell and traps, which is very useful, especially for the searcher. For Ixtab's first effect, it's basically like a trade-in. You can discard this card and 1 other Darklord monster and draw 2 cards. And this other one, this one protects your monsters. If Darklord or Fallen One monster you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can discard this card instead. So this one's a lot better because it's basically just trade-in. It makes the deck really consistent. This one I'm consider shortening down to 1 because it can clog pretty easily, but it's also a sizable attack and it doesn't have any restrictions on its special summons, which is nice. Next up, we have 3 Asmodeus. I see a lot of people running this deck with less of this card, and I don't know why. This card is amazing. So it can't be special summoned from the deck or the graveyard. Worst part about this card, but luckily you're able to get out with Valhalla, which is usually what you're going to do. Its first effect, and most important one, is once per turn you can send 1 fairy type monster from your deck to the graveyard. You can send Superbia, you can send Krystia, you can send Zerato, all great cards to have in the graveyard. This card sets up your Krystia plays and is really nice. We have 3 Darklord Superbia, Heart and Soul of the deck. When it's special summon from the graveyard, you can special summon 1 fairy type monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So when you like pop Call the Haunted or Oasis on it, or Soul Charge, you can get a free plus out of it, getting a Krystia. getting a Zerato, getting any of your newer cards, and he's really nice. Next up, running one Darklord Zerato, really considering running more of these because he's been pretty good in a couple of duels I've been doing. I really want to run more, I just can't find the space. His effect is you can send one dark monster from your hand to the graveyard, destroy all monsters your opponent controls. This isn't limited to once per turn, so if they pull anything weird with like Yang Zings or anything else that floats, you can clear that out too. It's really nice. Its other effect is if there are 4 more dark monsters with different names in your graveyard, you can tribute it by tributing one dark monster, which comes in handy, but I find it easier to special summon him since he doesn't have any restrictions on the special summoning. Next up, we have 2 Krystia, which makes this deck, it's the only thing that makes this deck somewhat viable. This card's super easy to get out, doesn't have any restrictions on the special summoning, and if you have 4 fairy-type monsters in your graveyard, you can special summon it from your hand. And if you special summon it that way, you can actually add 1 fairy-type monster in your graveyard to your hand, which can be useful, but its best effect is neither player can special summon monsters, period. That's it. No one can special summon. It's great, locks down the deck, and you still have a reliable tribute summon engine in the form of Eidos, and Stormforth if you choose to run it in case you want to bring something out. So this card just starts your plays. So say you start with like X-Tab, and just like something easy like Valhalla. So like you could X-Tab, discard another Darklord, draw 2, activate Valhalla, special summon Asmodeus. Asmodeus will mill the one that you're missing, either Superbia or Krystia, and then when your opponent's turn starts, you can flip up Call the Haunted, resurrect Superbia, and then resurrect Krystia, so your opponent can't special summon. It's great, and he's super easy to get out, which is why I love Krystia. We're running one Dark Creator, thinking of cutting this card because he's really cloggy. It can only be special summoned by having 5 or more dark monsters in your graveyard while you control the monsters, which sucks. It sucks a lot. It's very restricted to its special summoning privileges, and I'm kind of disliking this card, but its second effect completely makes up for it. Once per turn, you can remove from play 1 dark monster in your graveyard to special summon 1 dark monster from your graveyard. So this basically sets up your Superbia Krystia plays. It also doesn't have a very strong attack, so I'm thinking of cutting it, but it's a trade-in target, so I'm keeping 1 in for now. Except we have 3 Haste tries to search Valhalla, very important. And lastly, we have the Little Monarch engine with 3 Eidos and 3 Idea, and this just makes the deck so much better. I was running like 1 of each or even 2 of each before, but 3 just makes it so good because like there's no other reliable tribute engine that you can use to like normal summon these monsters. Like they all require 2 tributes, so that's why I cut Stormforth out of the deck completely, because that only substitute 1 material, and it's kind of hard to get monsters on the field with this deck in the first place. So these 2, they just make the deck a lot better, and you can also have options with Eidos when you have Krystia on the field, so it's really nice. Next up, new Darklord spell, casting out the Darklords. You just add a Darklord card from your deck to your hand, so you can actually search the trap, which is nice. But most of the time, you're going to be searching like Asmodeus or one of the so-called hand traps, or even Zerato, and it's just a great card. Also, the 2 new ones, X-Tab and the weird one, sorry for calling it that, that's just what I'm going to call it. They can mimic its effect, so if they're on the field, they can actually grab you an extra search, which is awesome. 2 trade-in, thinking of cutting this out because we basically have a trade-in in the form of X-Tab already, but consistency never hurts. Soul Charge, special summon from the graveyard, it's great. 3 Valhalla Hall of the Fallen, you control no. We have 6 ways to get it with Haste Trace, and when you control a monster, special summon any fairy type from your hand, so it's normally going to be Asmodeus or Krystia or Zerato. It's great. It's just a great card. Onto the traps, we're running 1 Darklord's Falling from Grace. I find myself wanting to run more of these because this deck has a little bit problem with removal of monsters with 3,000 or higher attack. But this card's generally a pretty good card. You can send 1 Darklord from your hand or field to the graveyard and destroy 1 card on the field. And this card does not target, so great against Cosmo Ships. So lastly, we're running the Resurrect engine. We got 2 Oasis and 3 Call the Haunted. Call the Haunted obviously being the better one since it special summons in attack position. This card is great because like you can resurrect Superbia, grab Krystia, and then if Call of Haunting gets destroyed, Krystia doesn't, which is awesome. So like I said before, extra deck doesn't really matter. Just make sure you have Felgrand, Titanic Galaxy, and Lancelot's a pretty good card too. So some cards I've decided to cut from this deck. Darklord Desire. This card is definitely a victim of power creep. You can tribute summon it by tributing one fairy type monster, which is actually kind of good. And once per turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls. This card loses 1,000 attack, and you send that target to the graveyard. Hit targets, so it's not that good in today's meta. Sorry, Desire, you've just been power creeped out. And you lose 1,000 attack, which really stinks. Like, it's a 3,000 beater. I want it to stay at a 3,000 beater. We also got the 3 Stormforth, which I've been talking about a lot. Just, like, if you don't have anything on the field already, it's useless, pretty much. So, it's really good if you have, like, an Eidos in hand and a Stormforth, but other than that, it's just really cloggy, so I just cut it all together. And, of course, Foolish. If you can find room in the deck, Foolish is always awesome. Sets up your Superbia Krystia plays. Well, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this deck profile on what is, my opinion, the best version of the Darklord deck on YouTube currently. I've been testing this deck out a lot, and once again, let me know if you want to see some duels down below. I'd love to show you some. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.